My name is Lisa Ross. I'm a divisional program specialist with our Drinking Water and Environmental Compliance Division. And what that means is I help with the delivery of our agriculture program. I have my co-lead in the back, Nathan Scaife, is also involved in that program. And we're the field guys. So we're the guys that go out if there's a spill, if there's a complaint, and we also are the guys that do the proactive inspections. Great. So, I'm going to talk about, I'm not talking about how the ministry implements source protection, because we're a huge ministry. We've got thousands of policies directed at us, and we do a ton of work with source protection implementation in terms of instruments that we issue. So environmental compliance approvals and permit to take water and other licenses. We do all kinds of source protection implementation with those instruments, but that's not my focus today. What I want to talk to you about is how we incorporate source protection information into our agriculture program. And for the purposes of our agriculture program, we're not the guys issuing the instruments. We don't prepare or approve strategies or plans or NASM plans under the Nutrient Management Act. So our focus for this program is primarily on responding to spills and complaints and proactive inspections. And in particular, I want to talk to you about our inspection program. So, I just want to explain basically how source protection information plays into our inspection program, and what is the role of our agricultural environmental officers, who are the folks out there typically doing the inspections at sites. So, the principal way that source protection information plays into our inspection program is when we're deciding where should we go this year to do our proactive inspections. That's really where it comes down to. We incorporate source protection information into our planning exercise. And what we do, and I'm focusing here on the ASM and NASM programs that are covered by Nutrient Management Act instruments. At the start of each year, and we've just done it for this year, we generate lists of every NASM plan, every approved NASM plan, every approved nutrient management strategy out there, and we do a risk ranking with each and every one of those instruments based on the best information we've got. And we set risk priority scores. And we consider a bunch of different variables when we're doing that. For instance, I do the NASM program, Nathan does the ASM. For the NASM, I'm looking at things like soil type and do you have a storage at the site, and is it a solid or liquid, things like that. How is the NASM application area adjacent to surface water? So we're thinking of all kinds of different variables, and we have risk rankings, but one of the key variables that we include is source protection information. And we don't just look, there's been so much focus today on significant drinking water threats, but we don't just consider that in our inspections program. We look at all the source protection information, and we assign a risk to each approved strategy and NASM plan based on source protection information in general. So we assign a risk for activities that might be considered a low drinking water threat, a moderate drinking water threat, as well as a significant drinking water threat. And obviously, is intuitively obvious, the higher the threat level, the higher your risk score. And we really, although we include many variables in our risk ranking, we really weight the source protection information particularly strongly, particularly for a significant drinking water threat. So by weighting that risk particularly high, it tends to, when you look at that list of possible inspection sites, the source protection information, if you're a significant threat, it just floats up to the top of our lists. So each year we generate a series of risk rank lists based on, in Nathan's case, I think he's got like 3,000, 5,000? 6,500 nutrient management strategies, and I had, now I'm blanking out, but something like 2,600 or 1,500 NASM plans. So we generate these risk rank lists, and we provide them to our district and area offices where our inspectors operate out of. And then we provide those lists to them, giving a breakdown on what are all these, what's your total risk score, but also what are the things contributing to their risks. And we certainly flag that the risk score forces a farm that could be a significant drinking water threat near to the top of the list, and we certainly flag that those are particularly important sites to consider conducting an inspection at. The actual inspection choice is always made, though, by the local district office, and what we encourage them to do is look at look at the sites in detail and look at the mapping itself. So I think Nathan told me you've got 61 nutrient management strategies this year. So out of the 6,500, there's only 61 strategies that are a significant drinking water threat. But we actually encourage the EOs to open the map and take a look at that map. Because as you've seen with the mapping, sometimes I may have a site that's 100 acres, and we always do the worst case for our scoring. So it might just be some tiny corner of that farm has a wellhead protection area with a score of 10, but all the activities are happening, down, 80 or 800 meters away. So our EOs don't just say, oh, significant threat, I'm necessarily running out immediately. They'll look at the more complete picture. But ultimately, we do, particularly in the ASM program, we've committed to get out and inspect all our significant threat sites. But the actual sites that they're going to pick on any given year will be based on the lists we've given them, and then them considering the risks and the site-specific information. So that really is how we incorporate source protection information into our proactive inspection program. Where am I going? Once I've decided I'm going somewhere, and this is important, our Ag EOs are not designated as provincial officers under the Clean Water Act. We do not have authority under the Clean Water Act to conduct inspections. We do not have authority to assess compliance with the Clean Water Act. So our Ag EOs, when they're out there, they are designated as provincial officers under the Environmental Protection Act, the Nutrient Management Act, the Ontario Water Resources Act, the Pesticides Act, the Safe Drinking Water Act. So we're designated under all kinds of acts, and that's where our compliance focus is. Now for the Ag program, it's predominantly when we're going out doing a proactive inspection, we're looking at the Nutrient Management Act and the Nutrient Management Regulation, and of course the instrument. We're looking at where there's a nutrient management strategy or nutrient management plan or a NASM plan. We are looking to assess compliance with the Act, the regulation, and whatever the contents of that plan or strategy is. So that's where our focus is from when we're out doing an inspection. Our Ag EOs will not, and it's not their job, they don't have the authority to do it. They won't assess, oh, is this strategy good enough? They won't assess, is this plan good enough? They'll simply say, I have a strategy. Is this farm operation being run in compliance with the Nutrient Management Act, reg, and the strategy? That's their focus. They also are not going to assess compliance with other types of source policies under the Clean Water Act. So if Mary Lynn has a risk management plan, we're not assessing compliance with the risk management plan. We're not assessing compliance. Has someone done education and outreach under the Clean Water Act? That's not our piece. Our piece is assessing compliance with the legislation where we have authority, which is the Nutrient Management Act primarily with these. That being said, we certainly recognize that we have got, and this is the challenge of our new world that we're entering here, is that we have multiple different regulatory authorities and multiple different people sometimes showing up at the same farm. So we know we could have an Ag EO coming out to assess compliance with a nutrient management strategy or plan, but we also might have Mary Lynn showing up with a risk management plan for fuel or pesticides. And so one of the things we've really been trying to emphasize with the Ag EOs is be mindful of that. If you're going out to one of these, a farm where something could be a significant drinking water threat, well, you're not assessing compliance, recognize that it's entirely possible you're going to show up at a farm where an operator has also been visited by someone else. And it's just rife for confusion, that kind of scenario. Wait a minute, the government was just here. I've got something for that. And it gets even more fun, of course, if there is both a risk management plan and a nutrient management plan or strategy that are dealing with the management of nutrients. So our main takeaway, our message to our EOs is it's a great idea to make friends with your local RMO and just communicate, get a open communication going with them, and particularly understand if you guys are out there overlapping on the same literal farms, just so that we can all be sensitive and aware. And as Mary Lynn said, communication is just critical here. So we're really trying to encourage our EOs, our Ag EOs, to be aware and be open to communication. But we're also, one of the messages we're trying to get across to everyone is to recognize our Ag EOs are there for compliance assessment with the Nutrient Management Act and the instruments. Okay, I think that's a sign. So, some things we certainly can do. If you or your clients have questions about the legislation where our guys are designated, the Environmental Protection Act, Pesticides Act, etc., we can certainly provide that information or dig it up. We can, where we are the issuing body, and someone talked about, some biosolid management, some storages are actually regulated under environmental compliance approvals, then certainly we can provide information on the instruments that we're issuing or generating. We can help set up, if someone has a permit to take water and they want a pre-consultation meeting, our Ag-EOs can help work to set up meetings. We can certainly provide contact information. If someone has General Clean Water Act questions, we're probably going to direct you to Source Protection Programs branch. But we can certainly, we will provide all the help we can when we're out there in the field to you as well as your clients. But what we will not do, again, to revisit, is we don't have authority under the Clean Water Act. We cannot enter property. Our staff cannot enter property under the Clean Water Act. We do not assess compliance under the Clean Water Act. We don't provide copies of Nutrient Management Act instruments. We're not the approving authority, and for nutrient management plans and strategies, the farmer is always going to be the party with the most up-to-date strategies and plans. We also, as I said, we do not assess if an instrument made under the Nutrient Management Act is adequate. That is not what we do, nor will we provide technical advice on what should be in a nutrient management plan, strategy, or NASM plan, or in a risk management plan. That our compliance guys, that is not their training, and that's not their focus. So that is, in a heartbeat, what we do and don't do. Thank you.